Hello there. Thanks for watching or listening to VIP Boxing's Bell to Bell podcast, episode 123. You're either watching us on YouTube or listening on iTunes or Spotify. Thank you very much for that. You know me, Steve Lillis. You know my co-host at the bottom of the screen tonight, John Evans, there in his VIP tracksuit that he didn't pay for, like all of us. Tonight's special guest is a return for a man, I suppose you can say, shocked. Certainly boxing here in the Northwest when he suddenly retired recently after, I think it was 13, unbeaten 14-fight career. Luke Evans. Luke, thanks for coming on.
No, my pleasure. Hope you guys are okay.
Yeah, we're going to speak about at the end of the show about retirement and go a bit more in depth on it, how you are and what could you. But what are you doing right now since retirement? I know you're spending a lot of time with your kids. I see you involved with a non-league football club. What's happening in your life?
Yeah, I'm just doing a bit of everything really. Just trying to keep myself busy. I mean, obviously, stopping boxing, it's a life-changing decision. But yeah, I'm just doing a bit of non-league football work. So for the social media, for the local football club where I go and support ABA, just doing them a favour really. I'm doing it voluntary, not getting paid for it. Just out of the love for the football club, like they've shown me their support when I was boxing. Yeah, and just spending time with my two kids really. That's been a massive life-changing event. Having a son, newborn son. So I'm just enjoying family time now. Yeah.
Are we ever going to see you in the director's box with a three-piece suit and be calling you Mr. Chairman at ABA and have a big suite named after you or something because of what you've done for the club?
I don't know. I mean, I've not done that much for it, but I think they appreciate and respect my input. Obviously, because I won't discredit the lads, but the level they're playing at is semi-pro, and I've come from a professional boxing background. So, the things I've learned in professional boxing, I can kind of, advise in the football side, especially non-league. I can, hopefully bring that professionalism, which some of the lads, they like going out and having a pint here and there. And that's something I've never really experienced or done for the love I had for boxing. So hopefully I give them that little bit of motivation now to try and get the best out of themselves.
I tell you what, Luke, as long as you don't start suggesting that we avoid playing the best teams in the league and stuff like that, as long as you don't take that over from boxing, we'll be all right.
No, definitely not, mate.
Yeah. I tell you, we'll start talking about our topics, and it's the round one where we're going to talk about your career and retiring, Luke. I mean, right, you ready, John, there with your clock and everything?
Already.
I'm just sort of packing up young Luke. You retired very, very young. Do you think there's, first of all, tell us about it. And also, do you think there's fighters of your age who would love to walk away but are too frightened to or just can't because of monetary situation? Do you, since you're retired, has any fighters come up to you and said, I wish I could do what you've done?
To be honest, not really, no. Not really anybody's came up to me and said I wish to retire or anything like that, but they understand the decisions as to why I have retired. One being opportunities. I'm not getting the opportunities I feel I deserved in my career for the skill set I have. Second, financial decisions. Fights, if they fall through, you don't get paid. It's not it's part-time wages, full-time career. I don't want to talk bad about the sport, but when it starts taking more from you than what you want it to, then you got to make that fine line. And as I touched on earlier, I've got a young family now, and it's no longer about myself. I've been selfish for far too long. I've damaged my body. Never really spoke out about some of the injuries I've sustained. Most of them are well documented, but now I feel like it's the right time because I can start feeling the injuries I have now, and not only that as well. I believed I could have done something in the sport, but it doesn't matter what I believe. It's what I've done. And to be fair, what I've done might not seem a lot to a lot of people, but from where I started on the small hall shows, and even as an amateur, no one ever expected me to get to the level I got to. 14 fights, 13 wins, boxed at the arena. Okay, I didn't win, didn't lose though. It was probably one of the most entertaining fights on the night, if that. I had Eddie Earn off his seat. How many people can say that? So I've over exceeded, I should add. So I'm very proud of what I've done.
Just one quick question. I saw John wants to ask you something on this as well. Do you think did it ever go through your mind that in 12 months' time, when the pain's less, your legs, your knees, I think was a problem, you might say, I'll go back and give it another go?
to be honest with you, boxing is a very dangerous sport. And one thing I've got to be, with the age I'm 26, I've got an old dad on shoulders, I've got to be a realist. I'll be honest, my chance of becoming a world champion and financially secure is about 1%. Not to put any other fighter off or anything, they're on their own path, but with me and my path, it's one of them where what's the point in going a little bit further when I'm not going to get what I want out of the sport? And that's not just my own fault. I understand that, but there's just other factors, politics, other people's decision making. That's out of my hands. And if everybody was on the same team, everybody was rocking the same thoughts that I did, then maybe I would have had a chance at, a big title, or just to have had the chance would have been nice. But, things are out of my control. And like I said, there's one thing I won't regret, though, is, retiring at the age of 26. I'm still healthy, healthy enough. So that's all I'm bothered about. I mean, I've not made a dime. I've lost more than I've earned. But, I'm happy. I'm really happy with what I've done. I've learned so much.
Time. Covered everything there.
Round two is your first topic, Luke. Someone who's similar age to you, whereas you didn't rate your chances of making, or you didn't rate things didn't go right for you to make the money you wanted. Someone who might be going all the way. Dalton Smith, you want to discuss?
Yeah, you guys must have watched Dalton Smith yourselves the other day. What a fight! Credit to Sam Maxwell. He put up a tremendous effort in it. Dalton with some big shots. But my question is, Dalton Smith's obviously going to be a world champion, but is he going to be a world champion against elite, or is he just going to be a world champion against world-class fighters?
You know what? I've been big on him. John, I think, would say this, really big on him since day one. He lives the life. He's one of those guys who I don't think has ever had a Mars bar. Okay, a bit of a top spin there, but he lives the life, clean living. He went to America just to hone skills recently. Will he beat elite? You know what? I shouldn't be sitting on the fence and getting splinters on my ass. I don't know. He can certainly become a world champion. Oh, that's a tough question. You know what? I'll go as far. I'm not going to say he'll beat elite fighters, but I'll say he's going to become a world champion and make enough money out of boxing to live very comfortably at the end of his career. The same aspirations that you had, Luke. John.
Yeah, and the other thing, Steve, he'll be in good fights as well. When he does get to that level, they'll be exciting, because I thought it was good matchmaking on Saturday with Sam Maxwell. It made him look really good. But what I liked about how he did it in the danger zone, didn't he?
Yeah, but
Maxwell's a long puncher and Maxwell can crack. But Dalton Smith did it sort of in the danger zone. He put himself at risk to get it done. And I like watching Dalton. He's a good lad. He got undeserved stick, didn't he, for them 2 fights where he went the distance. But
yeah.
I thought he showed back to what he could do again at weekend.
Yeah, people went a bit cold on him, didn't they? Particularly after the Billy Allington fight. A lot of people went cold on him. Luke, sorry.
A couple of fights that I'd like him to take, Darag Fowler, maybe for a European title.
That's a good fight.
Frank Pettigene, I think he's called. Yeah. He's the European champion. Sander Martin, I think will be perfect for as a world-class fighter. Liam Parrow, another one. And then maybe in 2 years' time, someone like Jack Catterall, he'll be 32, 33. Maybe, hopefully, he's made a couple of quid on the side there and, sets up for a big British fight. That
the Sandor Martin one's a great shout.
Sandor Martin's it's a tricky one, isn't it, as well? But if you're gonna get to where you think you'll get, Steve, you've got to beat Sandor Martin, haven't you? Robbie Davis as well. Get Robbie Davis in the mix there. Robbie's going to want a big fight to come back.
Good measuring stick.
Yeah.
Against opponents.
But yeah, I like him. I like him. And it was a spectacular. It's one of them finishes that everyone watches stuff on the phone these days. It's one of them finishes that'll flash up on a phone, won't it?
Similar to the Nathan Bennett finish at the Matchroot. That's what kind of reminded me of.
That's it. Yeah, he broke Nathan's jaw with the first punch of the fight, I think. Round 3 over to you, John. Jared Anderson.
Yes, well, do you know what? Similar to what we were just talking about there with Dalton Smith and people going off him because he went the distance a couple of times. I've seen people writing off Jared Anderson this weekend because he went the distance with Charles Martin. Jesus, he's 23 years old. I think he came to boxing reasonably late. He's looked good so far. He got a couple of gut checks there from Charles Martin. That wasn't a Charles Martin that turned up with a Burger King crown and a pair of hot pants, like the one who came over and fought Joshua, is it? That was a different Charles Martin. And yeah, I didn't see anything wrong with it. I thought he did okay. A good solid win on his record, still unbeaten. He's a world away from fighting for the titles. They're going to be tied up for a while. And yeah, I just thought unnecessary stick, to be perfectly honest.
Look, it's just that the generation we live in now, in not just boxing, we're not sport in general, where one performance where everyone doesn't there isn't universal love, and you're absolutely detonated. You think of this now when you talk about fighters being written off. If you imagine what it would be now when Lennox Lewis fought David Tua and was just safety first, where if he just they had a game plan they weren't changing. When they said safety first behind that jab, and he had let half a dozen more right hands go around and sparked him. Imagine what Lewis would have got for that. But that was a masterclass in people's eyes back then. It's just the generation we're in, Luke.
Yeah, I'm not too familiar with Jared Anderson, I won't lie, but I caught his fight against Charles Martin the other day. I thought it was a good performance. And, Charles Martin's been in there with some good operators at world level. Does he beat any of the top 5 in the world? No, obviously not. But he's in with a puncher's chance, and stylistically and technical, like his technical ability, it's there. So maybe a couple of fringe world level guys, keep feeding him that sort of level, let him learn his trade. 23 is young for a heavyweight. He's in no rush. He's in no rush. But yeah, I'd like to see him, maybe in with a Josie Parker, 1 or 2 fights down the line, something like that. The talent's there, it's clear to see. But for now, I just keep feeding him them sort of opponents.
Yeah, he's miles away. He could have another 5 years before he fights for a title. There's no rush. Yeah. But one thing I didn't like, though, I've seen a few interviews with him saying he wants to get out as quickly as possible. And did you see the thing he did with Roy Jones last week, talking about the pressure? And Roy was trying to talk him into, you've got a talent, you've got to do it. And maybe that might hold him back, and he wants to run before he can walk. But he's certainly got he's no American heavyweights, is there?
No, so, he's in isn't he, really, for heavyweights?
Yeah. Right.
Round 4, something we talk about every week and moan about the heavyweight division. And what brought this to me, I want to hear Luke's opinion. Me and John moan about this every week. We're like an old record. But someone made this point. This is how much it's slowed up. We've got, Tyson Fury's most probably going to fight a cage fighter in the autumn. And we've got Zhang Joyce rematch, or Zhang against the Juggernaut, the rematch announced. And that really was, apart maybe a little bit of Jared Anderson's against you at the weekend, Zhang Joyce 1 was the last relevant heavyweight fight. And it's going to be the next relevant heavyweight fight. And, by every week, I'll get more and more disillusioned with this division. We're getting Joshua White rematch, and it just don't do anything for me. Maybe I'm, being a bit senile and a bit miserable, but it does nothing for me at all watching Joshua White again. Watching Tyson Fury, if he fights John Jones or the other guy that's been mentioned, a UFC fighter, does nothing for me. It just doesn't even get me. I think, we got Dubois, Usyk, whether that's going to happen or what, that's due in August. But I just get more and more disillusioned by the week. How do you see it, Luke, the heavyweight division right now?
It's gone stale. Politics doesn't help. I think if it was down to the fighters to negotiate themselves, the fights would be happening. The background people, it's the politics of the sport. Money, this, that. It's, it doesn't pose well for the sport, because the heavyweights, the big guys, they're the guys that everybody wants to go and watch, and if they're not fighting each other, then these fights are never going to be made, There's only 3 fights that really, really interest me. That's Fury Joshua, Joshua Wilder, and Usyk Fury. They're the only 3 fights that really interest me. These fights outside of it, like Wilder, Ruiz, people like that, but they're the only 3 fights that interest me, and none of them are happening. Dylan White, Joshua, the second fight, a rematch. Dylan White followed me the other day, which was a nice little surprise. But, people like Dylan White, he's a good role model. He's not chose to go and chase world titles. He's gone to fight whoever's put in front. And if boxing was like that, then, you know, we'd have records like UFC fighters, but the fights would be entertaining. People would be better off financially. The fights would be bigger in that sense. And these fights are just 2 years too late for me. So it's gone stale, the heavyweight division.
Yeah, it's pathetic. What you said, Steve, out of the top 17 heavyweights, it's probably changed now with Joshua White. Only 2 of them had a fight scheduled, and it was Joyce and Chang.
Was that what it was last time? Yeah. You know, it was a great point. You know what? Something Luke just said there is bang on. When you look, but you know, you think about it, Dillian White, he has fought them all, hasn't he? He has got that record with the losses, but you know, he shouts his mouth off. He has the fights and tries his hardest, whether he's going to get chinned or not. So big up to Dillian White.
Yeah.
Yep.
Round 5, Luke. 2 minutes and 3 minute rounds for females. What's your take?
Look, to be honest with you, these 2 minute rounds for me, they go far too quick. You know, there's a lot of hugging, there's a lot of grappling. You know, I would love to see a female fight go 3 minute rounds and see how a female boxer would control that time and the distance and things like that. I think there'd be a lot more controlled performances. I think there'd be better fights. I think, yeah, it'd be a little bit more dangerous for female boxing in terms of, you know, the stoppages and the TKOs because, you know, a lot of fighters will be gassed earlier. But, you know, this is my personal opinion, but I think, you know, maybe, you know, 10-2s for non-title fights, 10-3s for world title fights, or 12-2s, you know, something of that effect. I think that could and should happen. You know, can they fight at a slower pace and, you know, give better fights? That's just from a fan perspective, but, you know, it's a dangerous sport, so I understand why they're probably not doing 3 minutes, but I just wanted to get your takes on it, really. I'd like to see 10-3s or 12-2s for world title fights.
John?
I'd have 10-3s would be great if the girls were all good. But the 2 world title fights we got on Saturday were shambles, I thought. Tasha Jonas, fair play to her, but that girl was atrocious. And I thought Franchon Cruz de Jeune was as basic as you can possibly get. Yeah, she was a strong girl who tried. But the skill differential's so big, but the power's not there. You could have got a girl like the girl Tasha fought taking a real pasting. You know, luckily he stepped in and stopped it, didn't he? Because he just got a little bit too much. But you see some big skill differentials in between the girls, even at world title level. And if the power's not there, but the skill difference is so big, you're going to get some real one-sided, drawn-out beatings, I think. I think over time, eventually all the girls will get better. The level will come straight up.
Yeah.
And it'll be 10-3s. But at the minute, I just think there's too much of a gap between the top girls and the lower girls.
Yeah, I'm for the 3 minute rounds, but yeah, we've discussed this before, and I can't think of the names. And I've seen when this was really being debated in the boxing media and stuff online, that there was quite a few high-profile female fighters who are adamant it should remain at 2 rounds,
yes,
2 minute rounds as well. I think Ellie Scotney, I knew it was somewhere on this a while back. Ellie Scotney, who's now a world champion and certainly one of the better female boxers, British boxers, she was happy with 2 minute rounds, and I think there's been others too. So I think because, you know, you've got, you know, name boxers wanting that, I think it could be some time before we see it regularly.
Yeah. Yeah, I think the level's got to come up. And maybe below super bantamweight, you could do it. Or below lightweight, so you could do it. But some of the girls who are fighting at welterweight and above, it's not good, is it? I don't even know if he could do 10-3s.
No.
Fine.
Final round, John. This is what a topic we had before and got a reaction on Twitter, so we might do again. Go on, John. Ban these words.
A word, I'll only give you one this time, but I'd like to ban the word ride from boxing. Get ready for an exciting ride, or what a ride it's been. I'll tell you what, when we sign these young kids now and the promoter say, get ready for a fantastic ride, the ride they're on for about 4 years is as dangerous as the local fairground, isn't it? The teacups. There's absolutely no risk. There's no danger, and there's no excitement for about 3 years.
Oh, so, right.
On the word ride from professional boxing.
Oh, mate, there's so many. I mean, you told me this. I wrote that about 4 straight away. I hate stanza to decide a round. Squared circle, tick over, domestic dust up. What a lot of bollocks that is. Oh, mate, let's go away from words. We'll go back to words, but I just fucking detest BT, Sky Sports, Channel 5, whoever's showing boxing is guilty of it. Hey, I've been guilty of it at Box Nation. So, I'm not here, preaching to you or anything, but how can every boxer that's had a hard life is fucking safe from prison? Boxing saved it. I'm fed up of hearing it. I could have a plumber in here who was a little bastard as a kid around Ashton and from Hattersley or something, or from Gorton where Abbey Hay is, who was a right little fucker, but has turned good with a plumber. I'm not going to go and broadcast it. A life of fixing kitchen sinks has saved him. Fuck's sake. Let's have a break of all this, of boxers that have had hard upbringings being saved by the sport.
Yeah.
Go on, Luke. What's your words? Have you got any?
Bit more, straightforward, to be honest with you. You probably hear it all the time, especially from fighters who are higher up compared to, lower fighters or even journeymen. But the word bum.
Yeah.
I hate bum. I mean, you could get journeyman fighters who are considered bums, or, upcoming prospects that have got a couple of losses on the record, bums, world-class athletes, world-class fighters, bums to the average, house, people on the chair watching the telly. Anybody that gets in that boxing ring, whether it's white collar, professional boxing, whatever, whoever puts on them gloves and gets in the ring deserves respect, and they definitely don't deserve to be called a bum, no matter what technical ability they're at. I think the sport's far too dangerous, and it's a lot of courage to step in there as well. It's not just the finished product on the night; it's the weeks you have before it, the family time you miss, all the events you miss. It's mental torture, and only so many people can do it. Thankfully, my 16 years in total are done now. But for other fighters who are coming through, you got to have a strong mindset. Because if things don't go your way, sometimes you get considered a bum. That's one word though that I don't agree with. So get that out of boxing, bum.
So I'll tell you something else I've noticed. We slagged off ring announcers last week with Gary Logan. Have you noticed something that some ring announcers are doing now? And it just shows me that they've not got a clue about the sport. They'll say 12 rounds for the final eliminator for the British title.
When was that?
It's 12 rounds in a final eliminator for the British title.
I've never heard that one.
Mad. They all do it. That's just a little thing that once it gets in your ear, you'll notice it every time now.
Oh, well, John's had his rant there, his words and stuff, but we'll get people to tell us their words as well on Twitter and maybe read a couple out next week, John. Luke, before we let you go, obviously you've retired. Have you got any plans to be a manager, trainer, matchmaker, promoter, anything like that at all?
To be fair, I've had quite a lot of training offers. People are asking me to train them all the time. I think at this moment in time in my life, not just my career, because my career's over now, but my life in general, I'm just going to spend a bit of time with my son, watch him grow up. But, never say never. I might return to boxing. I just won't be fighting. I know the sport. I've got a lot of experience. Maybe I'd like to have a go at the training side, maybe even the managing side.
I was going to ask that, and manager is what I was thinking of. Yeah.
It's like, I know we spoke before about this, and there's not many young managers out there. Yeah, but it's quite a stressful job, so I've heard. So I'd have to be really clued up on it before getting into that sort of thing. But yeah, I mean, I'd love to train one or two fighters and see how I get on with them. I think I could pass a lot of good knowledge on and a lot of good experience, things I've learned. So yeah, never say never, but for the time being, I'm just enjoying family time.
Hey, Luke, you said opportunities were tough to come by. Well, big opportunities were tough to come by. When you said you were retiring, did you get people offering you stuff when they thought one foot was out the door? Did you get any last ditch offers?
No. To be honest, I didn't have that. I'm not saying I'm not marketable or anything, because I know I can talk the talk and I think I can walk the walk. But in that sense, I never really got any opportunities. People kind of understood where I was coming from. But there was one or two opportunities that I could have had, but unfortunately it was out of my hands. And I think if I would have had them opportunities, maybe it would have kept me in the sport. But when you have people who have that hold over your career and the opportunities that you want to take, and you don't end up getting them and following them through for whatever reason, it kind of just like puts that final nail in the coffin of what could have been. But like I said, I'm not going to sit here and regret, because in my opinion, I've over-exceeded. Would I've liked to box with belts and things? Of course I would have. Any boxer coming through wouldn't say no. But, unfortunately, my opportunity was taken away through no fault of my own. So, it's one of them things. But I love boxing. I always will. I mean, I got a tattoo when I was 15 years old. So that's on me for life. So everyone knows I was a boxer at some point. But yeah, maybe it's time to pass my knowledge to someone else. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, you know what? Let's hope you're not lost. I've said to you before. I think you'd make. You'd certainly be a good trainer, and I think you'd even make a better manager. But that's just my opinion. John, do you have anything to add before we go?
No, Luke knows what I thought of him. I remember going down to see him at the Smooth camp with Boovy and stuff like that years ago. I thought Luke could really fight, and it's a shame the way it's gone, because there's been 3 fighters who I saw from pretty much the debut, and you could see straight away that they had it. And it was Jazza, Dickens, it was Zelfa Barrett, and it was Luke. And they're the 3. And Luke knows, I've told him, said it before. So it's just a shame it's gone like that, really.
Yeah. So sometimes it doesn't work out the way you want it to, but there's one thing I won't live in is regret. Life's too short to do that. It's all about moving forward now, and and everything I've learned on the way through boxing as an amateur and professional, hopefully I can use in my own day-to-day life moving forward. And obviously, if anyone wants my advice or wants a little chat over the phone, I'm more than happy to give them that time.
Luke, thanks for coming on tonight. We'll get you on again in a few months. We've got a couple of weeks before we pack up for a bit of a summer break, but we'll get you on again in a few months. Luke, you always add a lot to this podcast with your insight and knowledge. John, thank you as always, mate. And I'll speak to you in the week or next week, whenever, John. Thank you. And thanks, everyone, for watching or listening. Thanks very much.
For all boxing info, news, and latest interviews, amateur and pro, across the north, click and subscribe. VIP Boxing Promotions. Also, Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook.